Why are central bank digital currencies so dangerous? And why would it be an absolute disaster if we ever saw one implemented in America? I mean, after all, there's a lot of us out there that own Bitcoin or Ethereum, so what's the difference? Well, to answer that, we need to briefly explain what a CBDC or central bank digital currency is, and why governments would want to create one, and how exactly this would almost certainly lead to tyranny. Now, as you probably know, banks themselves used to just be places where people stored their valuables like gold and silver. And for most of history, these things actually were the currencies themselves. But because they were so difficult to carry around in large quantities, paper money was invented to serve as a receipt for the gold or silver that was stored in a bank. Now, fast forward all the way to 1971, the United States actually leaves the gold standard because too much paper money had been printed and there wasn't enough gold to back it up. But while the US is no longer on the gold standard, much of the old system is still in place, just not with gold. For instance, you still have an account with your bank, and your bank has an account with the Federal Reserve, which operates as the central bank for the entire country. And here's where the first big change with a central bank digital currency comes into play. Because that kind of digital currency would almost immediately result in the complete nationalization of the entire banking system. Instead of you banking with Bank of America or JP Morgan Chase or any other bank you choose, you'd essentially be banking with the Federal Reserve itself. Now, maybe this doesn't seem like a big deal to you. In fact, maybe we're just simplifying things. I mean, after all, if your bank is already working with the Federal Reserve, what's so risky about skipping the middleman? Well, it's actually very risky because the threat lies in the fact that the Federal Reserve has one of the most dangerous powers on earth: the ability to create and destroy money with the push of a button. Now, add to that already incredible power the capability to directly control and approve every single purchase or transfer of money from every single individual and business in the entire country. Considering all that, you now have a recipe for tyranny on a scale that we have never seen before in world history. Because right now, the Federal Reserve does have the power to create and destroy money, but they do not have the power to direct where that money goes. And this is what makes the central bank digital currency so dangerous. Because with this sort of currency power, the Fed would theoretically have the power to tell you where and how you can spend your money. If the stock market is crashing, the Fed could deposit money into your account and tell you that it can only be used to prop up the market. If gas is expensive, they could simply lock your account and tell you that you're only allowed to buy gas on Fridays to try and deal with price hikes and shortages. Here's a fun one. What if you attend a protest that the government doesn't approve of and they consider you a threat to democracy? Well, they could shut down your account and lock you out of being able to access your own money. Now, you may be asking, doesn't the government already have at least some of the powers to do what we just described? And the answer is yes. It actually happened in 2022, where the Canadian government under Justin Trudeau declared a state of emergency and shut down thousands of bank accounts from truckers and protesters who were pleading with the government to reopen the economy and end nationwide lockdowns. The difference is that with a central bank digital currency replacing cash, and with your only option for banking being a government entity, the federal government would now have a level of power that no government on earth has ever had or should have. It's a level of power that dictatorial regimes like China and North Korea could only dream of. And perhaps that's why people like Thomas Jefferson warned us that banking institutions can be even more dangerous than standing armies, especially when they're being controlled entirely by the government. Do you have a why you would like us to answer? Go into the link in the description and pose your question, and maybe the next Why Minutes will be dedicated to you.